What's up, everyone? Welcome to the show, the American Nomad Podcast. I am your host, Rav Holly. I want to apologize. We're running a few minutes late here. I actually have my second camera set up because I got a guest today, so I was going to have my other old second view. I spent all the time getting the software set up, getting everything set up, and then I got into here and I forgot how to add the second camera in this software here. So I was scrambling there at the very last. I spent all the time to get it all set up on the tripod. I had to re-download the software to the new computer that's never been downloaded, and then there was a version issue because the version I paid for is an older version, so they wanted to charge me more money. I didn't want to pay more money. I just wanted the version that I used before that worked, so I had to install the new version, reinstall the older version, and I started on it about an hour and a half ago. Thought I'd have my other second, second view that I used to use back here, but didn't work. Couldn't get it to work. So just couldn't remember how to add that second camera. I know you can do it. I just can't remember how to do it. So anyway, it's one of those deals. That's the way it goes in these technological issues. What's going on, Trav, man? Good to see you. Yeah, that's how it always goes, man, especially for me. It's just so irritating because I got everything set up and, for the last hour, that's what I've been doing is getting this other camera set up. So I was going to go to the other camera to give you guys like that a whole. Some of you that remember the back in the day, I used to have the two cameras set up, and I haven't done that in quite some time, but I thought today I would do that and spend the time to get it all set up. And I cannot for the life of me remember how you put the two cameras into this system. But anyway, we're going to have a guest on today, so I'm excited about that. And she just popped into the green room, so I see that she's here. So got a little treat for you guys today. It's not going to just be just us. Let's see who we got in the chat so far. We got Random Nomad. We got Trav, man. Great to see you guys. The green light idea was pretty cool for a green screen. Yeah, I did that for a while. I haven't used a green screen in quite some time, but I did the green screen thing for a while. Anyway, if you remember last week, we talked a little bit about the Britney Spears saga that's going on. It's going on it's going around the circles and the local area here in LA. A lot of people in the industry are talking about it. Just a lot of people are talking about it. Other celebrities are talking about it. Paris Hilton is talking about it a lot, which Paris used to be good friends with Britney and run around with her a lot. So there's a lot of being discussed about it. The reason I feel compelled to talk about it is I was hanging around with Britney right around the time her conservatorship started. So I had a couple of conversations with her when that was all going on. And I was going to go through today, kind of tell you guys how I met Britney and how this all transpired. I've never said anything about it. Never said anything really much about even knowing Britney and hanging out with Britney. And how I met her. So I thought today I might jump into that a little bit and let you guys know. It was a time when I moved to California. I think the time was around 2008, 2009, I believe. And I had moved to California. I worked for a sports agency, a mixed martial arts sports agency as an on-staff photographer. And then I kind of had a little bit of a falling out with the owner of the company. So I left and moved to Long Beach and was scrambling, trying to find something else to do to pay my rent. Lo and behold, because I'm a photographer, I had already put a few feelers out there, and I had somebody tell me that there was somebody that they knew that was making really good money as a photographer, and I should get a hold of him because he might be able to hook me up. Long story short, I got a hold of the guy, and the guy's name was Adnan, and he was basically a pap, what they call a paparazzi, and that's what he did for a living. So I got a hold of him, and that's where he was making his money, and he was making a lot of money. And one of the subjects that he had been photographing, lo and behold, was Britney Spears. And right around the time I had met him, they had just started dating. I didn't know it when I initially met him, but I soon found out because it was, it was on the TV and the internet and all the gossip sites. And so a couple of times when I was with him, he was with Britney, if that makes sense. So after they were dating, and that's actually how I got introduced to Britney Spears, was through her boyfriend she was dating at the time, whose name was Adnan. Adnan, I can't remember. Adenen, Adnan, if I remember right. And he was originally from Iraq, Iran, one of those Middle Eastern countries. And the main thing that I knew that he let me know was that got dog hair on me. I was carrying my dog earlier. He let me know that right away that, it was not that it was a rocky relationship with him and Britt, because Britney's family did not like him at all. And he had kind of a shady, he had his reputation, let me just say, wasn't pristine. Let me just say that. And like I said, he was a paparazzi. He showed me where he was making up to $30,000 a photo for certain photos that he was getting of certain celebrities, which at that time absolutely blew my mind. I never knew that the Paps were getting that much for their photos. He showed me like a couple of photos he'd sold a week, each one of them, for like 22,000 and another one for like $30,000. He'd made like $50,000 in a week. So I was a little bit flabbergasted by that, because I had no idea those guys were making that kind of money. So that was very interesting to me. But then going out there with him and seeing how that whole situation worked, and how you just had to run from place to place, and you had to like camp at places and wait for celebrities, and there was a lot to it. But the thing that really it just, the moralistic value to it just wasn't my thing. So basically I never did it. I did it for maybe like a week and just realized that, the money wasn't worth it to me, and kind of backed out of it. So, but in that time, I actually had a couple of conversations with Britney Spears, because Adnan was dating her at the time. And I wonder where he is. I'm pretty sure he still lives in Seal Beach. Even after they stopped dating, I still seen him a few times, because I worked at a very nice restaurant in Long Beach, California, called Tantalum. And after Britney and him broke up, he would come to Tantalum, because I was the head of security and I could get him a table. So he would come into the restaurant, which is a very nice restaurant and bar, on Friday and Saturday night. So I seen him. We never really spoke much when I would see him at the restaurant and stuff. I would just get him, he would mention my name at the door. I'd get him in, get him a table and stuff, and he would be good to go. But I just don't know. I've got the feeling that the way he just backed out of the picture really quickly, that I feel like there was probably some monetary exchange there from probably Britney's estate or something like that, because I knew her family did not like him. They somewhat pretty much despised him. So, and I always kind of felt like Britney dated him just to kind of despite her family. So anyway, we're going to get our guest in here. She's a lot prettier to look at than I am. So I don't know what I'm doing here, just sitting here rambling on instead of letting her in here. I can see her in the green room. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you guys to this girl. And really quick, I'm going to tell you, you guys hear me talking about Clubhouse, and I've done, I don't know how many podcasts on Clubhouse back the last year. I met this girl on Clubhouse. That's how we met. So just for those of you who don't know, she's not on the application anymore. Like me, we saw some things kind of like I saw with the PAP thing that I didn't like about that application. And I think she's kind of gotten off. I've kind of gotten off in some pretty much. But anyway, without further ado, it's Tiny Blonde Kelly. Let's see if we can add her to the stream here. There she is. Let's see if we can hear her. We can't hear your mic. Let's see. It says you're muted. See your mic right there? It says you're muted.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Loud.
Perfect. It sounds like a Verizon commercial.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Good. My dog just decided right now. She's like, I want to play. So she's all excited.
That's the way it always goes.
So if you can hear it in the background, I apologize.
With mine, he sleeps over there all the time. And then I'll get ready to do the show and he'll come scratch my leg, tell me he needs to go to the bathroom. So I always usually try to take him out before the show. And then today I was running. I was like, oh no, I hope he didn't need to go to the bathroom, right in the middle of the show here.
Yeah, I took her out and then she's sleeping. And I think she was like, because it's later here. It's 10 o'clock here. And now she's all hyped up because she saw me getting ready. And I think she thought I was going to go out. But
are you in Miami still?
I am. So I'm here. I don't know if it's going to be permanent. I'm going to try to move back to Los Angeles. It's kind of just where I can get a job at this point.
I hear that. But everything's opened up over there, right? Isn't everything?
Oh yeah. I mean, COVID doesn't exist here.
Yeah. Is that a Blue Yeti? What microphone is that?
Blue Yeti, yes.
Yeah, nice.
I love my Blue Yeti.
Yeah. Right on.
Background, I met Rav, yes, on Clubhouse back in February, when it first opened up. And I think after a week, I was like, I'm always over it. But we actually had a mutual friend, a very good mutual friend, which the odds of this person, it was it's crazy small world. So
yeah,
thank you for letting me on.
Somebody that I know, I've known Ronnie. We won't give away his last name, but I've known Ronnie since he was, he was probably 18 or 19, and he was living in New York and going to school. And I know his older sister, Marina, very well. Do you know Marina?
I don't know Marina, no.
Yeah, I know Marina very well. That's how I met Ronnie, was through his sister, Marina. Marina was a bartender at the bar I was a bouncer at.
Gotcha.
So I was the head bouncer, and that's how I met Ronnie, because when Ronnie would come in from New York, he would end up being, he would come just sit on a stool. It was so funny, while his sister bartended. And the first, he couldn't even drink. He wasn't old enough to drink, but we'd let him sit in the bar. It was funny.
Ronnie, I just recently saw him. We were talking about you. He was like, I can't believe you met Rav. I was like, yeah.
And then later on, he ends up being a bartender. I don't know if he ever was a bartender at Shannon. I think he was a bartender at Shannon's.
He worked at Shannon's, yeah.
And then he ends up being, that's the bar I'm talking about, is Shannon's on Pine.
Shannon's on Pine, yep. Because that's how he met my group of friends, and that's how they all became friends. And then I met him through them.
So his older sister, Marina, we all kind of opened that bar. I was about 5 months after the grand opening, but we all worked there in the beginning of Shannon's when it first opened.
Got you. Can you hear me? I just had something come up on my screen saying my mic was unplugged. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we hear you fine. But yeah, for a second it showed your mic mute or something.
Yeah, just wanted to check that. I saw a little issue with this mic. Sometimes it's really sensitive. So if you touch it the wrong way, or if it moves, my dog just hit the table, it kind of goes a little
wonky.
Yeah, so I'm careful of that. But anyway, thank you for having me on tonight. I'm very excited to be here. I can't see anyone else, but I hope there's other people.
We've got let's see, we got a couple of people in the chat. We got Random Nomad, we got Trav Man, a couple of guys that are always pretty much every show I do, they're pretty much here. They're two of my Trav Man's been MIA. I think he's been working and stuff, but Random Nomad's always here almost every day. And before I got demonetized, I was really religious about the show, and then I got demonetized, so I kind of took a break from it because I kind of took the paycheck out of it. So but then I just said, you know what, I still enjoy doing it, so I'm just going to keep doing it. So
there you go.
Random Nomad says we can see you, so I guess that's all that matters.
Okay, good. Hi guys. So actually, you had mentioned the Britney thing. Actually, Christina Aguilera had posted something within the last hour, she went on Twitter on a huge Twitter rant.
Wow, I didn't see that.
I'll just read. I have it up.
You know, Britney Lynn Spears, her sister, not Britney Lynn.
Jamie Lynn.
Jamie Lynn Spears, her sister, made a statement earlier today saying that she supported her sister.
Well, it's funny because maybe a month or two ago, when the whole Hulu thing came out, she came out and was against it. And she was like, you guys don't know the behind the scenes. Like, you don't know what's really going on. And I'm sure there's some truth to it. I'm sure there is, as you said, there's something that we don't see, that, you know, the up and down. I have a sibling who has traumatic brain injury from when we were children. And so he has one, but he's also very self-sufficient. Like, his conservatorship is nothing like Britney's.
Yeah.
And, you know, he can't hold a job. He has to do Uber Eats and DoorDash to support himself, and he does very well. Yeah. But I mean, she can make money. She can hold a family. And the difference between that is, like, you see people who, you know, like him, for example, you know, he'll never necessarily have a family. I mean, he might hit or miss, but she can have all those things. Yeah, and so that's where it's like, she is in prison. And so for her sister to come out and say, you know, you guys don't know the story behind it, and then now change the narrative and say, you know, I support my sister. Well, it's like, are you supporting your sister because now you're facing backlash, or are you supporting her because...
And it's because so many other celebrities now are coming out as well. And now her sister's made a statement. So now if she doesn't support her sister, she looks like a ass for not supporting her sister. So, because she can see where this is going. Yeah. But go ahead and read the Christina Aguilera thing. And then I'm going to give a little bit more insight to what I know and when I talk to Britney and stuff. So go ahead and read that.
So she posted a photo of them. They look like they're like maybe 12. I would say this is probably back when they were doing Mickey Mouse Club. That's what the photo looks like. And it says, these past few days, I've been thinking about Britney and everything that she is going through. It is unacceptable that any woman or human wanting to be in control of their own destiny might not be allowed to live their life as they wish. She went on to say, and this is like a series of tweets. So she wanted to say, to be silenced, ignored, bullied, or denied support by those close to you is the most depleting, devastating, and demeaning thing imaginable. The harmful mental and emotional damage this can take on a human spirit is nothing to be taken lightly. Every woman must have their right to her own body, her own reproductive system, her own privacy, her own space, and her own healing and happiness. While I'm not behind the closed doors of this very layered and personal yet public conversation, all I can do is share from my own heart on what I've seen, read, and heard in the media. The conviction and desperation of this plea for freedom leads me to believe that this person I once knew has been living without compassion or decency from those in control. To a woman who has worked under conditions and pressure unimaginable to most, I promise you she deserves all of the freedom possible to live her happiest life. My heart goes out to Britney. She deserves all the true love and support in the world. So, you know, I'm sure that there is a level of sides we don't see.
Oh, we lost your mic. There it is.
It's not to say that, you know, she just shouldn't be to the point where she can't choose the colors of her cupboards. Like, that's unheard of.
So back when I was hanging out with her ex-boyfriend, Adnan, there was him and I had a couple of discussions about Britney and what was going on with her, because he was telling me that he was basically just one thing I forgot to say, I meant to say earlier, is I don't know why he isn't coming out and saying something, because I've looked for him to come out, because he used to be such a media whore. And he loved being in the spotlight and being on TMZ, or I don't even know if it was TMZ back then. It was like the Inquirer or something like that. I don't think it was TMZ was around then, but he loved, being in the spotlight. He loved being with Britney because all the cameras were on him for a change, when he had been a paparazzi for, years. So it's weird that he doesn't come out. So the only thing I can think, and that's one reason I've never come out, because I've figured that he was going to, because it's more his place to say something. It is my place, because he knows 100 times more about it than I do. Everything I got that I know, he pretty much fed through me. And then I had a couple of short conversations with Britney, but not anything long and detailed, because he was kind of super jealous. So he didn't leave her alone. There's a couple of times when we were all together, and then he had to go to the restroom, and then me and Britney would kind of make small talk. And it came up that she had been diagnosed recently at that time with dementia. And they thought that, and Adnan thought that they were using that just to try to get Britney away from him. So the conservatorship thing was already in the works when I was in the picture. And it was basically, it was basically, Adnan, Adnan telling me that was, he was just telling me that they're trying to get him to be put in jail, and that he was, they were using this conservatorship thing to get Britney away from him because they wanted Britney away from him. So he was saying something about the conservatorship. And then there was a couple of other things that they were doing, trying to get like a restraining order against him and stuff. But I guess the best way that they could go about it was this conservatorship thing. And so Adnan actually was like, it was like this, thing she really didn't need, but it was a way for them to legally remove her from his life, is the way he was telling me. So I never really looked at it going very long. Once it went into effect, I heard about it, and it was after I didn't never see Britney again. Another thing is, like, when Britney and I first started talking, one thing I do remember, it's so long ago, I don't remember like intricate details. They're just little things that I remember about it. And I do remember that Twitter had not been around that long. And that's how she followed me, because I asked her, I said, "Are you on Twitter?" And she goes, yeah. She goes, do you use it? I'm like, yeah. I said, "It's pretty cool. Have you used it?" She goes, "I don't really use it. I kind of look at it, but I have it." She goes, and it was all set up for me, and it's there. And I'm like, "You should follow me." And she goes, "Okay." And so she followed me. So for like 10 years or whatever, since Twitter's been around, Britney's been following me forever. And it's always been like a thing I'd show people at parties and stuff. I had somebody telling me they were bragging about a celebrity that followed them. And it was like, one of the kids from Jersey Shore or something, you know what I mean? And I'm like, well, look who follows me, because it tells you if somebody follows you. You can look at your Twitter and it'll say followed you. So it was always kind of a little, party gag for me more than anything after, but when Britney first followed me, we actually communicated a little bit through Twitter, through the DMs. And then that only lasted maybe a week, and it was just small talk stuff. You know what I mean? Like, "Hey, how's your Twitter going?" It's that kind of thing. It was nothing in detail or, anything like that. But the other thing I wanted to touch on really quick is because when the conservatorship thing came in, like I said, I thought that was a way that Jamie, who is Britney's dad, who hated Adnan. I mean, they despised Adnan. So I thought they were using that to get Britney away from Adnan. That's what they were basically doing. And because they knew Britney wouldn't just leave him. So something happened because Britney flip-flopped overnight. Like, Adnan was out of the picture, and then you didn't see, and Adnan didn't see her, because I talked to Adnan. I'm like, "Have you seen Britney?" "No, they took her away from me, man. I can't even talk to her. They changed her number, everything." I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then, but Adnan and I did have a conversation one time when Britney wasn't around, and he told me that she was having these episodes. And I was like, huh, like, what do you mean episode? He's like, "I don't know, man. It's just like she has these episodes." And the craziest thing about it is when she was having these episodes, that as much as Adnan knew that Britney's dad despised him, when she would have these little episodes, and I didn't go ask him in detail, like what kind of episodes or anything, but he let me know that when she would have these little episodes, the only thing Adnan could do, was call her dad. Like, her dad was the only person that could come get her and get her back to reality, or, I don't know.
Bring her back to.
Yeah. So I knew something was going on there. I try not to be a nosy person, so I didn't try to ask for any detail or anything. But then when the conservatorship thing went into effect, I always went back to, I don't know what kind of episodes that she's having. Her and I had talked about her being diagnosed with dementia, because I've never said this publicly, and only maybe 2 or 3 people in the world know this. I was diagnosed with dementia in my early 30s. I had a stroke in my early 30s and spent a year, my ex-wife, who was my wife at the time, taking care of me and nursing me back to health. And I had to kind of learn how to walk and talk again. And the doctor said I would probably never get back to, I think they said 75% maybe of, I might be able to get back to 75%. I like to think I've gotten back to probably about 95%. I think maybe 97. But I do still have, like, people don't understand when they look at me. because the things I do. I mean, I can, run this whole podcast stuff that a lot of people come in here and go, holy crap, man, how do you do all this? You know what I mean? But I can put things together because it's my mind is sharp. Where my dementia comes in, and what I see is I see it getting worse over time, or I see, and it's not getting leaps and bounds worse, but I notice little things like, oh shit, like this is like, and a lot of it is like, it's hard to explain to people. Like I have a friend of mine that's a celebrity and he literally does not believe it. A lot of people in my own family actually thought I was faking what happened to me. You know what I mean? They thought I faked, like, because I did come back, after I couldn't talk and walk and stuff. I actually did, I got my cognizance, where I could function again and be on my own, because my wife literally took care of me for a year. She had to take me to Traction. I had to go to Traction, where I did like physical therapy, all that stuff. And I didn't walk real well, and now I ride a one wheel around. You know what I mean? But the dementia is, it gets me where it's hard to explain it. So here's something like this is a perfect example of things that happened to me. So like, it was a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago now. And see, that's another thing, is I don't have real good concepts of time. Does that make sense? Like something. Yeah, that's what everybody always says. But like, if you have dementia, like one thing, like something I'll do is, because it's short-term memory for me. And most of the time it's short-term memory. So I can remember things from a long time ago, but I might not be able to remember in detail what I did 5 minutes ago. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The things that I do now is like, I've went out to grab lunch and then come back to my office, and I sat down in my chair, and then 5 minutes later, I'm like, damn, I'm hungry. I should go get lunch. And I go get lunch. And then I come back and I realize, oh shit, I'd already went to get lunch. I have it sitting here. So I go buy the same thing twice. Does that kind of make sense? You're breaking up, honest girl. Yeah, your connection. Still muted.
My mic, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you now. Don't worry. Okay. Hey, you're fitting right in, because nobody has more technical difficulty than I do. So
I was gonna say, it's funny you mentioned the hunger and the short-term memory loss, because those are in the same part of the brain. So when you're affected by that and you have brain damage, that happens. So people forget that they're hungry and they keep eating, and actually people tend to put on weight that way when they have brain damage.
And see, I'm right the opposite. I forget to eat, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I used to eat 3 or 4, or like 3 times a day, and now I usually eat once a day, because I can only remember like, oh shit, I haven't eaten. Like there's some days, like last Friday was one of them, that I did not eat, but because I couldn't remember if I did eat. Does that make sense? Oh, we lost you again.
My mic. Here we go.
And we lost you again.
Is that better? Can you?
Is it just your USB connection to your laptop?
It's like, I think I got to take the mic back, honestly, and have them fix it, because to the laptop, it's fine. It's into the microphone.
Oh, it's where it plugs in.
That it like is so finicky. But
yeah,
there's something called NAD plus. You should look into it. And I can't remember what it stands for, but you can get pills for it, like oral, or you can get injections or an IV. Now the IV is like a 5-hour IV drip. A lot of celebrities actually do it. To name one, Scott Disick does it. It helps for regenerating the brain cells that you've lost. So a lot of athletes do it. If you've ever, people who've done a lot of drugs tend to do it. People with head injuries, traumatic brain injuries, it helps a ton. Yeah, so look into that. That's something that might help regenerate those brain cells that you've lost, to bring some of that back, or at least to stop the damage that can go further.
I looked at like taking like the oral stuff, like Alpha Brain and stuff like that, and I did order some. It was super expensive.
So
I don't know how much it is now, but it was crazy expensive. But I took it. And I don't know that it made me feel, I don't know that it helped my memory. What it did do was it made me alert. You know what I mean? I felt really alert. I felt really like on top of things and alert, but I don't know that it actually, helped my memory. But it did really make me feel alert, because sometimes, I feel like I think all of us go through that. You could be tired or whatever, and you kind of feel like you're dazed or kind of living the day through a fog or something like that. And that it just kind of clears any of that away, where you just feel like you're really alert, and you really know what's going on, and you're motivated to get stuff done. I liked it, but it was just too freaking expensive.
Yeah, the NAD is the pills aren't super expensive, depending upon where you go to. Of course, in Los Angeles, it's like, because a lot of the celebrities do it, they jack the price up. But you can look online and find places that'll sell you the melts for like a very decent price. But that regenerates a lot of things.
I'll have to look into that. But like another perfect example is, I was sitting there looking at your Instagram at your podcast page, and I would have to get out of it to type, because I did that flyer thing, that advertisement thing. I did it on my phone.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I would get out, and as soon as I would get out, I would start talking, because it's a little box on your phone, so it's a pain in the ass to do it. And I was not in the office at the time, so I was just doing it on my phone through Canva. And I was like trying to type, and every time I type I'd be like, "No, wait a minute, what's the name of the podcast?" And I would go back into the podcast. I would look at the name, and I would go back, and I couldn't remember the name. Does that make sense? By the time I would look at the name, I would go back to that little template, and then I was like, "Shit, what was the name again?" And I couldn't remember. I did it like 3 times. And then sure enough, I went in and I put the wrong, I put, it's Medium Rare Millennials, which I can remember now because I focused on it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I put Medium Fried Millennials, you know what I mean? But that's the kind of short-term memory things I have problems with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like names, like sometimes people will send me like a piece of, a piece of paper that has to be filled out, like a PDF thing. You have to fill it out with like a PDF thing. And I'm trying to remember and you have to flip back and through from another page to another page. That kind of stuff kills me, because once I leave that page, I can't remember. And if you can't look at the other page, you know what I mean? Like if I can take a page and put it up on one screen and have this on this, then I'm good. Then I can just look at this one and write it down. But if I have to leave that page to go to this page and transfer that information, when I close that page, information's gone. It leaves my brain. And then I have to open the page back up and look at the information again and try to remember really quick, or write it down physically and then on a piece of paper and then transfer it over. It's a pain in the ass. But that's all stuff I didn't have to do, before.
Well, it's interesting you say that. And then earlier you had said something about Adnan, and I'm going to go back to this, that her family didn't like him. And despite, getting everything away from him, I wonder, obviously we're not there. And look, the diagnosis, who knows at this point if it's real or not, but who knows what he knew to be true versus what they knew and what she could handle. And even though she needed her dad, it's like, how much did they milk all of those things to
get her away from him?
Exactly. Well, and just to use it, just to use that leverage so that, she only needs her dad. I had Googled something while you were talking about that, and she had filed a restraining order. You said it just flipped out of nowhere. And you wonder how much of that, because you said also that he kind of just disappeared, and how much was that? Was it paid off? Like stuff, so we'll keep you quiet. Like, here's some hush money, which is just so sad, because even so, like you had said, your ex-wife had helped you with a lot of stuff, and you're at what you would say is 90%. Most people heal from that. And when she has a team of doctors and she's going through this stuff, she can afford.
All these years.
100%. She could have afforded to heal anything at this point.
But the other thing is like the reason my dementia came on, what I didn't understand is like Britney and I had this conversation, because I admitted to her that she told me that they were saying that she had recently been diagnosed with dementia. And I was like, what? I said, I have dementia. She's like, what? So there was like oh wow, it's us moment. Like, who would, what are the odds of that? You know what I mean? And then she was asking me questions and I told her, I said, well, I had a stroke. And when I was like 31 or 32, and that's what brought it on.
So young.
But for her, and it was all stress induced because it was
Yeah.
like after 9/11 and a business I'd been working my ass off for the last 4 years. I was traveling like 250 days out of the year. I was traveling thousands of miles, and I was driving. I had to drive all over the United States for this company that I'd built. And then when 9/11 happened, it basically just wiped my company out overnight. So I went from making, there was days I'd make $3,000. So I went from making like $3,000 in a couple of days or a day or 2 days to zilch, you know what I mean? And had all of this. And then you don't realize how much you've accumulated in overhead until there's no money coming in to pay that overhead. And then you're like, holy shit. We started looking at how much our bills were. And we ended up having to file bankruptcy, which was like $75,000. We were at like
in
almost
your early 30s too.
we're gonna lose our house. I just bought a brand new boat. I mean, I had a brand new boat, and yeah, it was just it was a mess. So it was basically just I think it was stress induced because I had all these nice things that I liked, that I thought that was the meaning of life at the time, when you're young like that, and I'd really worked hard to accumulate and get to where I was. And then just kind of have the rug like pulled out from underneath you, and the bank calling you that they're going to start coming and getting your your stuff. And so it was just and then the main thing was our house that we had for years, and that we had all this equity in the house, and they were going to try to foreclose on the house. And yeah, it was a mess.
And
so
strokes can happen at any time to anyone for any reason. My grandfather had a stroke. I have family members that had it in their 30s too. It's like genetic predisposure, but also you're right, like stress can do it.
I mean, that's all I can figure out that happened. I mean, it had to been stress, but I was under so much stress at the time. I mean,
being
overwhelmed with everything, because I had a wife, 2 kids, 2 small boys.
You look at Britney, it's like she has everyone in her face. She couldn't find peace anywhere. She couldn't go anywhere. She couldn't do anything. She was watched 24/7 already. And then she probably had postpartum, which it can trigger mental illness. It can. Those things can trigger. It's a recipe for disaster.
That was actually her question, though. She's like, you had a stroke. I've never had anything like that. So why are they diagnosing me with dementia? And I think, like you just nailed it. I think what it was is I think she had postpartum depression. And she didn't realize it. And I don't know for a fact that she actually has dementia. It might have been the depression that was bringing on her lack of mental awareness. It might
psychosis.
May really not be dementia. So, but they've held her in this conservatorship now for all of these years.
They gave her lithium.
And so I talked about, did you listen to my last podcast? I sent it to you.
I did. Yeah. Yes, I did listen to it.
I think a lot of it, and I blame the state of California, and this is on California, dude. This is why California is so, hold on, let me see if I can find
of the many reasons.
Oh, it's not working. My voice mod changer is not working. I have a beeper, so when I cuss, you can't hear it. Let's see what's going on here. But yeah, I just don't, what was I saying?
The state of California is corrupt.
Oh, yeah, the state of California is so corrupt. And it's the reason is I think everybody has held Britney in this conservatorship for this long is one, they can control her. Her family doesn't have to worry about her because they got her under their thumb. And now I will say her family was very worried about her at that time. Like they really thought she could end up dead, kind of. They were scared she was, because she shaved her head. She was having these outburst things, and it was you've seen it in the media. I mean, she had this meltdown in the media, but
she also probably been used and abused by many people on the way to where she was.
Her family was very worried about her at the time that the conservatorship went into effect. But I think over the years, they've all gotten comfortable with this. Even the state of California is looking at all the bills, all the lawyers she's keeping employed, all of the money that's coming into the court system. Her father's getting $16,000 a month to be the head of her conservatorship. Are you shitting me? That's right. $16,000 a month. That's insane. He should have been getting maybe 5, 6, 7 max, but 16,000. She's paying for all this stuff. That's why they keep putting her out there like a show pony to keep working because this conservatorship has to be paid for. These bills have to be paid for. If she doesn't perform, those conservatorship bills don't get paid. It's one big scam, in my opinion.
Doctors, lawyers, politicians, everyone involved, the family. I mean, Kevin Federline's probably getting money.
Oh yeah, he's probably getting freaking what do you call it? Alimony.
Yeah. Child support, alimony. I mean,
and
she hasn't seen her kids in a really long time.
Back when I talked to Britney, she was going through a really hard time because I want to say, if I remember right, at that time, Kevin Federline, I can't remember, he had gotten the kids away from her. He had gotten he had been granted full custody of their kids. So she had no access to their kids. And that's what brought on the whole, she had to go into an ambulance, if I remember, and she was put on a 5150 or whatever the hell they call it, a mental hold. Yeah, and it was because he was keeping her kids from her. And then she got the kids at one time because of the court appointed visitation, and then she didn't return them, or she wouldn't return them, and it just blew up into this whole mess. And I think, like I was talking in the last podcast, she's 39 years old. It's not like she's a kid anymore. It's time for her to be free and live her life. And I guarantee you the reason this is finally coming up and she's finally grown the balls to really go after this is because she's in love. She has a new boyfriend and she wants to do stuff with her boyfriend, and they won't even let her ride in the car with her boyfriend.
I think it's even beyond that, though. I think it's social media. I mean, it's been a thing for a while. She'd gone on, what'd you say, 2 years ago? She wasn't heard. I think
she's been crying out through her, like, her Instagram and stuff, like giving hints. Like I would hear about this stuff and I'd kind of look into it, and I followed Britney's Instagram and stuff, and I just kind of felt like she was mentally breaking down. Does that make sense? When I would look at her Instagram and stuff, and I would hear this whole Britney movement and stuff, and I'd kind of look at it and I'd think to myself, well, you guys don't really know that, there has been things. But I think after listening to her, she's very articulate when she was reading that stuff. She wrote all that stuff out. She's plenty capable of taking care of herself.
Exactly.
But if you listen to her court thing, 3 times she said this: I want to be able to ride in the car with my boyfriend. It's them keeping her from having a real relationship with her boyfriend, I think, that's really stemmed her forward. Because as soon as she did that court thing, you know what she did?
What?
She hopped on a private jet and went to Hawaii. Her and her boyfriend's in Hawaii right now.
I did not know that.
By themselves.
Which, good for her. I mean,
good for her.
Somebody who can give that speech. I don't know if she wrote it. I'm sure she did. I'm sure.
I think she did.
I'm sure she had up, but she stuttered, I think, once or twice. She was probably nervous.
Oh yeah.
But someone who needs a full conservatorship would never be able to articulate that. Period.
Exactly.
Would never be able to speak in front of the people that she did, knowing that it was going to go public. She would never on any planet be able to say like a third of what she was able to articulate in that speech. And that alone should be enough proof for the court to be like, she doesn't need, maybe she needs to be checked on every now and then, but like, come on, for her to say that and to be able to do that speaks volumes.
Exactly.
In and of itself.
Yeah. And it's just time, you know what I mean? And the thing is with her father is, like I said, he was like the only one that could come and get her, but they've always had a tumultuous relationship, which I never understood. Like, why did her mother not become the head of her conservatorship? Because, I don't know if you know this, when Britney was growing up, he wasn't in the picture very much.
No, he wasn't. Yeah, she was the one taking her everywhere. Her mom took her to Mickey Mouse Club, took her to everything under the sun. It wasn't until she started making money that her dad stepped in.
Well, her mother wasn't always there either. They actually hired a chaperone. She had a chaperone that took her around for years.
Yes, the one lady that was with her for everything. Oh, I can't think of her name. She has dark hair.
Yeah. And she was like a friend of the family or something, if I remember right.
A cousin of the mom, I think.
Yeah, she's the one that basically took care of Britney and took her everywhere that Britney had to go for years, because her parents were actually working in Louisiana or wherever they're from.
And I think even she had come out and said, I've known Britney through everything that happened, and I don't think she I don't think she needed this. I just think she
Mm-mm.
needed someone to give her some love.
Yeah, I actually
Like,
watched the Hulu documentary, the New York Times one,
yeah,
Saturday, I think it was Saturday or Sunday, and I'd never seen it, and it jogged a lot of things loose in my mind that I'd actually forgot about, and that was one of them, that Britney had that girl, that lady that was her. She basically took Britney everywhere she had to go. And when we're talking about when Britney was like 17, 18 years old, she was like her chaperone. And then the other thing that I remember back during conversations was Britney was very adamant that everything was going to be fine with her because she had her own attorney. And I remember, or I saw in that documentary that they made that the judge ixnayed her having her own attorney. So that is the corruption to me from the get-go. Because if you can know that you need your own attorney or want your own attorney, you goddamn sure should be able to have your own attorney. And for me, I don't know who that judge was, but that's a corruption. That's state corruption.
that's in your Miranda rights. You have a right to an attorney, and
You
it can be
hear
your
shit
own if you
only
want.
like you hear shit only like that in California, because she should be able to have her own attorney. And the judge told her she couldn't have her own attorney and did a appointed attorney. You know why? Because guess who gets paid for
right.
the state? Yeah.
Yep.
It's just a racket. It's a complete racket. And I feel like this whole time that the state of California has just been complacent because of all the money that Britney Spears has been generating for it to keep this conservatorship going for all of these years. It's got to be millions and millions of dollars.
Millions. Like
I've heard that she's estimated, and you never can take these. You have to kind of take them for a grain of salt, because I know celebrities that I look up their net worth and I talk to them and they'll tell me, like, yeah, they're way off, either up or down, you know what I mean? But they're usually not right on. Right. But they estimated Britney's worth like $60 million. She should be worth like $300 or $400 million. Are you kidding me?
Well, look at everything they spent on.
Yeah. But it's because of that conservatorship. That conservatorship has literally sucked her dry. It's probably taken over half of her money, her wealth. At least over half. She had a residency in Vegas that was the most popular residence in Vegas for years. That makes you millions and millions and millions of dollars. I think I think that documentary said she was making $33,000 a show. Yeah, I mean, she was making $1 million, or she was depositing $1 million a week.
Stupid money, and they put it all in the pocket. Hopefully, is eventually will go to the Court of Appeals if the state of California doesn't overturn it, and then she can sue everyone, and all of those people should be in jail. Everyone should be in, all of them.
But the state of California should too, and they'll skate on everything. This is all going to blow up on the family, which it should. But my whole thing is, I think the state of California is just as guilty as anybody.
100%.
I think they've overlooked this and just let it run, ride on. Because of the money. I think the whole thing is a racket, just because the money that Britney's been generating. I think once that money started coming in, Jamie Spears, her dad, goes, well, I ain't got to work no more. Right. In that documentary, it said that like one lady that was like an agent or something, she goes, the only thing I never met Jamie Spears one time. And she was like one of the people, like Britney's agent or something, when she was a child. She goes, I never met I met her mom. Her mom's just as sweet as she could be and worked so hard for Britney, but I never met Britney's dad. The only thing that I remember about Britney's dad is one time he goes, my daughter's going to be so rich, she's going to buy me a boat or a house or something. It's like, he's going to buy me a new boat or some shit like that. I was like, yep, that's.
And then in the last few years, I think he had sold her childhood home and is living in an RV, but it's like a really nice RV. Yeah. Like, come on, who are you kidding, sir? You're not fooling anybody.
But it does make me wonder, like, what did he do with all that? Where's all that money at?
Right. If he had sold that home, where's the money?
So I saw pictures of the home when it was like right before it was sold. And like he had a home gym. At one time he had a gym in the house. Like people from the town could come and like pay a membership to come to the gym. So he had like a home gym, like the ceiling tiles are falling down and it looked like it look, dilapidated. Like, and if he's getting $16,000 a month, where's that money going?
Right.
Doesn't even make any sense.
And money.
And he may have a nice RV, and I'm into RVs, so I know he's probably got like a big 40-foot motor coach that he probably paid $500,000 or even $1 million for.
And it's decked out, I'm sure.
It's probably decked out. But
he's probably got a driver. I bet he has a driver.
But he probably got $300,000 or $400,000 from their home that sold. So I'm still asking, like, where's that money at? What has he done with all that money? I mean, has it been bad investments that he's lost it? Or, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Or the only other thing is what we might find out is that he's been saving that, because he's an old country boy. So you never know, like, because sometimes, in past, I've had friends and stuff, and people would be talking that their dad's being nefarious about stuff and, stealing money or whatever. And then you find out down the road that no, he wasn't even using that money. He was putting it all in a bank account for his kids so they could get it back when he dies. You know what I mean? So that's actually a possibility, because he's not living lavishly, though. Even if he's got like $500,000 motorhome, he's still living in a motorhome, and he sold their house, their family house. For what reason? Why did he sell that house? That doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? Like, why? It's paid for.
No idea.
Why sell the house and move into it? Why move
to fix it up?
Yeah. Why move into an RV? So there's way more to the story than what we know. And
he wants to appear that he's living frugally. I mean,
true.
We don't know. But like he said, as a country boy, he could just be burying the money in the back. Well, I guess he doesn't have a backyard now, but hypothetically speaking, he could putting it in accounts elsewhere.
Or he's invested in stuff that he's lost his ass. He's got friends and stuff that's asking him for money. Because the problem is when you get money, people start, as soon as you come up and have money, people start just out of nowhere asking you for money. Family, friends, everybody comes out of the woodwork asking you for money. So who knows if he's made some bad investments over the years? Who knows? But, there's millions of dollars that, I mean, at one time, or they said when he first took over the conservatorship, he was supposed to have gotten like $1.2 million as a chunk payment. So where's all that money at?
Also, all the people that he's paid off, though, you have to think of it that way. He might just be paying himself last because he's got to pay, him, her, this person, that person, this person, that person for whatever favors. Who knows? Maybe he's the one that's crazy and is on drugs.
Could be. Could possible. Be. Definitely could be. You don't know. The other thing, though, is Britney has a brother. I can't remember what his name is. She has a brother.
An older brother, I think.
He's a pretty level-headed guy. And I never understood, like, I think he did a podcast or something, but I never understood, like, why he hasn't came out more. But then, a lot of times siblings will just leave it to the parents to take care of these things.
Yep.
But I just don't know. But I just think, but here's the sad part of it, because
Britney Spears.
Yes. I actually listened to an attorney that deals with conservatorships and, here in the state of California. And she told me that Britney's not going to get out of this thing anytime soon. There's no way.
I mean, the court system moves so slow. Of course, they're going to milk it as long as they can. She might get out of it, but it's going to be years.
She said it might be 4 years. She goes,
it'll be years.
It'll be 2 years. She goes, it's going to go either one of two ways. Either the family is going, or like Britney's dad's going to throw his hands up and go, I don't want this kind of backlash. And it's just going to
get berated. Yep.
It'll dissolve overnight. But she goes, but the problem is it's in the courts of the state of California. And they move at a snail's pace. It's like being exonerated in prison. And in California, it takes, can take a year to get you out of prison, even after they found evidence, DNA evidence that they know you didn't do it. Yes. And still you hear, the guy's still in prison. He's still waiting for them to get the fucking paperwork together so he can get out of prison. You're like, well, they found he's not guilty. Just let him out. You know what I mean? Why is he still in there? Doesn't make any sense. Right. So that's how bureaucracy works in California. It's one of the things that drives me crazy about this state. So we could see this thing actually drag on if Britney ever gets out of it. And she may never get out of it, from what this attorney said.
Which is sad, because she wants to have kids. She wants to start a family with this guy. if they have her on this involuntary
It's modern
IUD,
day slavery.
she's not going to be able to have children once this is done. I mean, a woman's eggs are you only have so many of them. Not to knock that, but like, right.
She's 39 years old. She's already
pushing the envelope at that age. If you want to have kids, like you got to find either you got to do it now or you have to find a surrogate.
And the other thing, but the other thing is, I wonder about her dad, because I mean, I don't know where to go with her dad as far as if he's being nefarious and being a complete dirtbag. And if you hear the way Britney's talking about him, she's not too happy with him. So I don't know, which way. I don't know which way that's going, but it's going to be. But what I was going to say is, that's where I lose my train of thought really, really quickly. But what I was going to say is, one reason he may be stepping out of the picture now, and it may not be such a big deal to him, is because he's getting older. He's becoming elderly himself, so money's not that big a deal to him. You know.
Also,
what I mean?
If he's saved everything that he's made off of her, I mean, come on. He's like, I've already gotten my riches out of this.
Yep.
Right.
But the other thing is she's aging out of her career. The height of her career. It's not going to be easy for her to come back and now be the 32 or 33, 34-year-old Britney that's doing residency in Vegas. She's aging out of her career in Hollywood. It's hard for a music artist. I mean, you have anomalies like J-Lo, for instance.
Cher, J-Lo.
But just very few that keep pushing that, keep pushing.
Can we name it?
Well, another one,
Aguilera, maybe.
Another one was, oh my gosh, she's Tina Turner back in the day, but that was back in the day. But you just don't see girls. I mean, Britney can do it, but I think that one thing her dad may be looking at now is thinking to himself, yeah, she doesn't have that many more years to be able to make enough money to keep this conservatorship thing going. You know what I mean? Because it's got to be funneling millions of dollars with the attorneys, the state, and everything. This thing's costing millions of dollars every year to keep in place. Mm-hmm. And if she's not working, that's why they made her work this entire time. Most people that's in a conservatorship, it's an estate thing, and they are incapable of working.
They can't work at all.
They can't work at all. But the reason they keep her working is to keep this conservatorship going, because it's this massive machine that takes a shitload of money to keep it going. It's a cash cow for all of them, for the attorneys, for the nurses, for the doctors, for the pharmacist, anybody that's got a finger in the cookie jar. Mm-hmm. It's a cash cow for all of them. And Britney's dad, I feel, is the puppet master over the whole thing, and has been for years, to keep the thing going so he could put as much money in his pocket as he could possibly put in his pocket. And now he's probably lost a relationship for the rest of his life with his daughter, because she's probably not going to have anything else to do with him. So he traded his daughter, for monetary purposes, and now he's living in an RV.
And his reputation. I mean,
his reputation. Yeah, I saw one of my friends who's a celebrity. She posted her Instagram story like right after the day after Britney gave her court speech. She posted on her Instagram, "Good morning to everybody except for Jamie Spears. Fuck that guy."
I saw one that was a picture of her from the "I'm a Slave for You" video. And it was with the snake, and it was like all the snakes that Britney has in her life. And it was that snake, her dad, her mom, and then her sister. I was like, very true.
I just hope, I just wonder, because I know that there was an underlying medical condition there when the conservatorship, that's how it got passed through so fast. I'm just hoping that she is mentally sound. Yeah. She's not having any episodes anymore, and you know what I mean.
But because even so, if it is, she's old enough to manage it.
Yeah, well,
she doesn't need a conservatorship to this. She could have one.
She just needs a chaperone.
Exactly.
She needs like a nanny or assistant that can take care of her, or be around her.
And she can afford that.
Yeah, she can afford that.
If Lindsay Lohan can be on her own.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
There's no reason Britney can't.
my fear is if she is having episodes, and I don't know that she is. That's just what I was told. You know what I mean? But it was her boyfriend that her family hated, so I figure he was telling the truth because she had those episodes with him, and he had to call her dad, which was weird for him because her dad hated his guts, like despised him, like wanted to kill him, like threatened to kill him kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Threatened to shoot him. You know what I mean? He goes, you ever come out here to my part of the country, you're fucking dead. So you better not leave Los Angeles. You better not leave Los Angeles with my daughter, because if I catch you somewhere else, you're done. You know, is that kind of thing. I mean, they hated each other. And when he told me that a couple of times he would have to call Britney's dad, like, you got to come get her because I don't know what to do with her. You know what I mean? So hopefully everything, all of that stuff is, you know, cleared itself up. And because that's the other thing, you know, for us, the general public, we don't know exactly what's going on. You know what I mean? There are people in that inner circle that are working with her, that are at her house every day, from the maids to everybody, that have signed NDAs where they can't talk.
Right. And
they know exactly what the deal is. You know what I mean? And we don't. So there could be something there, but I'm just hoping. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping that, you know, I think she has a new boyfriend and she's wanting to live her life. And I can't say I blame her. You know what I mean? She's a modern day slave. Right. It's crazy because she had that song, I'm a Slave for You, or what was the name of that song? Slave? Yeah. And she's been a modern day slave if you look back at it, and if you really look at it. And it's funny how, you know, because I'm very, I'm not going to say I'm anti wokeness, but a lot of this woke bullshit gets on my very last nerve. But there are things that are coming to the surface at this time that, as the public, we've just always kind of just, none of my business. You know what I mean? For years, there's so many things now that we go, oh no, wait a minute. Like the Harvey Weinstein thing. You know what I mean? I mean, that shit's been going on for years. It was no secret. It was never any secret. Everybody knew what he did and what he was. And people just kept it quiet because of who he was and how much power he had in Hollywood. And they wanted to be in his movies. It was a fear thing. It was a fear thing. And then, you know, but now people are fed up with that kind of bullshit. And hopefully this Britney Spears thing is going to be exactly one of those things. So whatever way it goes, she will get to live her life finally, like she should have been living her life for probably the last 10 years. You know what I mean? I think if she even got that conservatorship, 3 years. I think maybe for 3 years.
3 to 5.
Unless she was a complete danger to herself and couldn't take care of herself and was like incapacitated, which we all know she wasn't. If she can work, if she can get out there and choreograph, because she does have her own choreography with her dancers and stuff. She's in charge, or she's always been about with a choreographer how the dancing and stuff is going to be. And if she can do that kind of stuff, then, you know, it's the whole thing is ridiculous. And I think it all stems around her being a cash cow. Everybody looks, even the state of California looks at it as a money grab.
It's a money grab.
It's a money grab for them to be able to grab all of this money from everybody that's involved, from the attorneys, the state, her dad, you name it. They're milking her dry of her money.
Well, now they can't prove that she's crazy because she hasn't done anything in so long that there's no reason for it. Before, they might have been able to say, okay, well, she did this. So yeah, I mean, and you know, look, 10 years ago, even mental health was rarely talked about. I mean, now it's becoming more mainstream to talk about mental health. And so I think now they can't get away with what they might have gotten away with 10 years ago. And I think if that were to happen now, they wouldn't have been able to get through with it.
What I do wonder about, though, is like, I do wonder about, let's see what the chat's saying here. I'm actually heard of F-bombs and whatnot are a sign of higher intelligence. Oh, they're talking. I was looking at what the chat's talking about. I do wonder about her like Instagram stuff. You know what I mean? You follow her on Instagram, right? Like
yes,
some of the videos are a little bit, I mean, her dance routines and stuff, you know what I mean? It just seems like something that like a junior high school girl. So I wonder like if that's a sign of her being over medicated and not and not understanding, exactly what she's doing. Or I don't know if it's like, like her whole Free Britney conspiracy, they're all looking for signs. She's giving us signs every time she does one of these videos. But
right, the yellow shirt's the biggest one.
I know celebrities for a fact. They have PR people that a lot of times they go through to even post. You know what I mean? A lot of celebrities don't even post for themselves because they're afraid they'll get themselves in trouble. And everything is an image. You know what I mean? And I know there's no PR firm or anything that would approve those little dance videos. And you know what I'm saying? Because some of they're kind of awkward. You know what I mean? And the way she's filming them, it's just there's more there.
I have a friend who is a videographer, and he had mentioned that she was not allowed for the longest time. He actually worked with somebody who had a residency in Las Vegas. She wasn't allowed to use her phone. She wasn't up until recently. And so part of it's like, is it really her posting those videos, or do they see this and they're like, okay, well, if you look at her, like she looks a little bit disheveled.
Yeah.
She looks like, she needs to wash her hair. She needs some self-love, self-care. She might not be getting that. Again, how much of it is being poorly medicated or not properly medicated, or is it her being that way? But then again, is it really her posting those, or is it someone behind it? Because again, what he had told me was she's not allowed to have her phone. She doesn't run her phone. Everything that's posted is she'll tell them like what she wants posted, and then they find it and then they say it.
Wow.
They put it out there.
That just was a light bulb moment for me, because they may be doing that on purpose to make her look bad, to make her look like she needs a conservatorship.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of it that way. But you're right, because or her not having her phone, because remember me telling you that we kind of like went back and forth through Twitter, and then all of a sudden that was gone. I'd message her, it was crickets. There was nothing.
Yeah, she wasn't allowed to even look online. And they had claimed it was because it drove her crazy. Like she would go read what the media would say about. And I mean, how much of that is 10 years ago versus today? I mean, yeah, 10 years ago when she's having a psychotic break and she's reading about it, that would make her that's just fuel to the fire. But if now in today's society, she can't even go on and post something for herself when she's 39. I
know, it's insane. It's funny how I guess it's the death of the rags, the magazines, because the paparazzi is not like a big deal anymore for celebrities. I mean, they're still out there, for TMZ and stuff like that, but it's not like it was back in like the 80s and the 90s.
Well, I think social media put that to bed.
If you look, social media, if you look at all of the celebrities that were basically driven to insanity by the paparazzi, I mean, you have Justin Bieber, Britney. I mean, the list is long. People don't realize, how bad the paparazzi used to antagonize, and they would antagonize. People don't understand this. I've worked with a couple of celebrities, and the paparazzi would antagonize because they're looking for a money shot. And if the celebrity gets mad or screams, they react, and then they get more money for their pictures. So and that was another thing, is being a photographer, I'm not for regulating anything, even we're talking guns or anything, you know what I mean? I'm not for any more government regulation on anything. That's one thing I always thought and I'm a photographer. It's one thing I always thought, that the government or the city of Los Angeles should have regulated somehow. There should have been some regulations. I remember, I can't remember what celebrity it was, but the paparazzi was chasing one of the celebrities. It might have been, he was Rihanna's boyfriend.
Chris Brown.
I think it was Chris Brown. After him and Rihanna had he supposedly beat her up or something. He was in like a Mercedes Maybach or something, and the paparazzi was chasing him going down the 101, and they were all doing over 100 miles an hour. He was trying to get away from the paparazzi. He's doing like 150 miles an hour, and they're still chasing him. And I'm like, where's the cops?
Right.
Everybody should have got pulled over. Everybody. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about it's like just Chris Brown in his car running and there's a couple of cars behind him. No, it's like a train of cars and they're all running because they're trying to get this picture or whatever. I'm like, that's insane. And it's like the city would just look the other way.
Yep.
It was crazy.
Because they make money off it.
Yeah,
some states have, what is it called?
Anti-stalker laws. And
well, there's the one, I can't think of what the law is called, but no consent. So you can't take pictures. It has to be a 2-party consent system, which California obviously doesn't have. But some states,
not for pictures.
Some of them you can't. If you take a picture, yes, Florida's one of them. You cannot take a. Yes, it is. And I know this because my brother's an attorney, and he had to deal with someone who, if you video or take a photograph of somebody, now obviously celebrities they're not going to waste their time on property. They don't care. They know the person doesn't have money. They're not going to go after them. But people, if you were to take a picture of someone and they didn't want that, they can sue you for that, for taking a picture without their consent. Yes, that's a thing.
On maybe on private property, but not if you're in public.
That's possible.
Yeah, because that's why the police, because the police don't like to be filmed. It's a federal law. It's your constitutional right. Right. Anything that you can see in public, you're allowed to film.
That's possible in private.
That's the law. Yeah. Even if you have like, say you have a big estate, right? You have a big estate like in Calabasas, like Kim and Kanye's estate, right? If I can get to a place that's in like Hidden Hills, that's a private guarded community. So that's private property. But if I can get in the hills up behind their house in public, that's public land with a telescopic lens and photograph Kim on her balcony butt naked, that's completely legal to do. Anything that you can see with your own eyes from public, you can photograph. That's why you can always film and videotape and photograph the police. All over this country, the police will tell you that's against the law. You cannot film me. You can't photograph me. That's bullshit. There's public domain. You can film anything, anybody in public. I had a lady yelling at me in downtown Huntington Beach one time because I was taking pictures of a model down there, and she was in the back. She walked through the back of the picture and she's like, I don't want to be in your pictures. And she came yelling at me. And I'm like, if you don't want to be in the pictures, don't walk through there.
Walk through it, right.
Get the fuck out of the way. And we're in public. So, you know, she could like come at me, erase those pictures. Am I in your pictures? If I'm in your pictures, you erase those pictures. I'm like, lady, go away. And she went to get a cop, and the cop told her, you're in public. You have no right to privacy. You're in public. That's why it's public. You have no right to privacy in public at all, no matter who you are. And that's what the paparazzi, you know, that was like their feeding frenzy, because they knew that, you know, the law couldn't do anything to them. But the city could have made some kind of regulations to regulate it, you know what I mean, for safety hazards and stuff like that. But, you know, it's probably better that that didn't happen, because what happens is anytime there's any kind of regulations like that, it becomes something else, because then they use it for some nefarious reason that it wasn't even designed for to begin with. You know what I mean? Which, you know, like all of a sudden they'll tell you can't take pictures of athletes at a stadium or something like that. You know what I mean? They'll always come up with something else. So that's why I'm always against any more kind of government regulation, because if it starts, it'll snowball into something else that you didn't even see. You're like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that. They use it for that, you know, and then it comes back and bites you in the ass. You get a ticket for some other, you know, because they love writing tickets because that generates money.
Yes.
You know? So when
stimulating the economy. What?
When are you coming back to LA?
I'm hopefully going to be there in the next month.
I thought you were going to Seattle.
I am going to Seattle in 2 weeks. I'm going to Seattle, but hopefully I will be back in LA after that. Depending upon, I have a job interview that I'm interviewing for here in Miami. So it depends on if I get that and how that goes. However, I mean, yeah.
How long have you been in Miami now? For a month?
No, let's see. I left. I got here mid-April. April, May, June.
Holy shit.
2.5 months.
3 months?
Yeah.
So we were talking about going, I was thinking, because I was trying to get out of California too at that time. And we're talking about going out there and starting a podcast out there. And
It's still possible.
I guess I was just bullshit, and you just did it. I didn't even know you'd left LA. You kept it kind of on the quiet. You said you told me you were going to. You're like, when you go to Tampa, then you go to Tampa first and then to Miami?
I was in
Keys.
Tampa for a little bit.
Yeah.
I was in New Orleans. I love to travel. Traveling's
Yeah,
my
yeah,
favorite
same here.
hobby. So
Yeah,
if
same
I
here.
can be on the road, whether it's flying, driving, whatever, I'm
Did
gonna
you
go.
drive?
We did. I had a friend drive with me to New
Holy
Orleans.
Mhm.
It was actually my birthday week and her birthday week. So we
Okay.
spent 4 days. It was the week that New
Oh, that's
Orleans
great.
reopened. So it
Oh,
was
that's great.
so much fun.
Right.
Oh, so much fun.
So
Um,
how is New Orleans right now?
it's kind of sad because a lot of the places,
There's no tourists.
they shut down. I mean, it's back now. Now it's
Is it
back. We
like
were there the
Bourbon Street and
first.
everything?
Bourbon Street was back.
The
We were
cat
there the
meows the
first
cat
week.
meows are open, all the
Gotcha.
bars are open.
Fisher Street, Fisherman Street, Fisherman Block, where all the locals go, got hit the most. A lot of
Right.
those places really shut
Yeah,
down.
those little non-touristy places, that makes sense.
Yeah, which is really sad. And there's a lot of graffiti. I mean, ridiculous amounts of graffiti, which some of these buildings are like 150 years old and they've been vandalized, which is really sad. And a lot of the locals were really disappointed about that. Even the cemeteries. I mean, the cemeteries are permanent closed. You can't even get in there now because people trashed them, which is so horrible. You know, it's history, and America doesn't have a lot of deep history. One of my friends in London calls us we're in our teenage years.
Yeah.
Because
it's weird, like New Orleans always had like a element of people that were anybody would consider very poor. But it was like after the hurricane, something changed about, I mean, a lot of those people left and went to Houston and went to Dallas. And it was crazy because all of those people that left and went to Houston and went to Dallas, the crime went through the roof.
Yeah.
But even though New Orleans had those people, New Orleans was, it was pretty safe. You know what I mean? It wasn't crazy. And then after the hurricane, I've been back a couple of times and it's just like Los Angeles. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know what.
It's not what it was because I don't think it really got back to where it was before the hurricane.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, the people that were already.
It used to be pretty clean. I mean, if you went out to the, not boroughs, what do they call those?
The bayou,
right?
The bayou.
Bayou, but they call the neighborhoods. They have a different name. I can't think of the name of them.
It feels like a different country when you drive in there.
Yeah.
When you fly in, you go in. You feel like
you're the wards.
The wards. Yeah, the wards.
Yeah, I think the wards. Yeah, if you go out to the different wards, I mean, there was places like you'd drive through and go like, holy shit, like these people don't even have shoes. You know what I mean? You'd see like kids running around barefooted and stuff like on their bicycles because they don't even have shoes. And it's so poor. But it was like, it's like there's been a moral, like since the hurricane, there's like this moral breakdown in that city. Does that make sense? Like even when I went back after the hurricane, like you would see guys out there like trying to intimidate tourists for money and stuff. Like, hey, you looked at me, give me some money. What?
That's still there. Still there.
Yeah. And that was stuff that you didn't see before the hurricane. I never saw before the hurricane because I used to work in New Orleans all the time.
I love New Orleans so much.
I almost moved there right before the hurricane. Yeah, right.
Everything happens for a reason. You're lucky that you didn't.
And I almost moved to Miami because I had a friend of mine, Darren, out of Miami, and he has a beautiful condo in West Palm, and he was trying to get me to move out there. He's like, "You can stay here for free, dude, but I got a job offer out here, so I can move out here and go straight to work." And that's how I ended up in California. But I had already had my mind set to move to Miami because I love Miami.
I love it so much. It's so humid.
I like hot. I do like, but California right now is hot as hell. It's like 90 degrees a day.
But it's dry heat there.
That's
the difference.
Yeah,
dry heat over humidity. I mean, I straighten this and it's like, and I'm inside in 70 degree air conditioning.
So have you had any luck looking for work out there?
I have. There is a company that so when I first came out, I had a job offer, but I got total bait and switched. Not what I had signed up for, which is pretty disappointing. But also my whole family is up and down the East Coast. So it's really nice just to be close to everyone. And I find out Thursday if I get it. But I kind of want to go back to Los Angeles and to California, and I've applied there too. But it's just opening up. And so what I
But
do
you were
for a
down in
living,
San Diego, weren't you? You were
I
in San
was.
Diego.
I
Yeah.
was in
I
LA for
love
3
San
years
Diego.
and then San Diego for 3 years.
So I've spent time in San Diego. Like a year and a half ago, or right before the pandemic, I stayed in San Diego for like a couple of weeks or maybe 3 weeks. I
It's like a
really like
big
San Diego. Oh, we lost you. There we go.
It's like a big sleepy beach town.
Yeah, it is. But it's clean compared to like Los Angeles. It's so clean, and like the gas lamp district. You don't think it is?
I don't know what part you were in. I mean, compared to Los Angeles, yeah, it's very clean. But
Yeah,
go to like Pacific Beach or Ocean Beach,
pretty
it's
dirty.
yeah.
But it's not like Venice Beach where you got homeless tents everywhere now. Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
But even-
The
but, like,
pandemic, it was just weird because the pandemic, they just moved them into hotels for a while and then
oh, now they're
they
back out.
showed up again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. California is like going back to the whole California is so corrupt. The
Oh, there's so much
homeless.
stuff going on right now. Like
Newsom just got recalled.
thank God. Not last. Listen to this. Not last. Are you familiar with Long Beach? You're pretty familiar with Long Beach, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So you know where the Pike is, right?
Yes.
You've been to the Pike or the Hooters and all that stuff down there.
Mhm.
So not last night, night before, there was a drive-by shooting. Somebody drove by shooting at people outside the Hooters, shot the door out of the Hooters. Yeah. And then
That's
there was
terrible.
a lady that just got robbed. Like some girl got robbed in broad daylight and the dude stabbed her. Yeah. It's crazy.
That's aggressive. Stab someone in daylight and Long Beach. Oh,
But here's the thing. This is what, because you're a millennial. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking? You're
29.
Like 26? Oh, you're 29?
29.
Okay.
I'm
So,
millennial.
but millennials don't remember the 80s and what these larger metropolitan cities were like. Because you were born in 88?
92. It depends on who you ask, because I was 92, but my siblings, I have a 45-year-old cousin who is also technically a millennial that cut off.
Because like Los Angeles, New York City, dude, in the 80s, they were like, there was movies made with Kurt Russell called Escape from New York and Escape from LA. Because that's how, I was living in rural Texas, and that was a whole thing, like just, how bad the crime and the gangs were and all the drive-by shootings and all the murders and everything. And because of the oversaturation of police, because all these budgets ballooned and then police kind of got militarized, which I don't agree with all of that. But what it did do is it brought, New York City used to be a fucking urban jungle. You know what I mean? First time I ever went to New York City, I was
That's
like,
Chicago now.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, what the, like all the parks were taken over by homeless people, except for Central Park. But like all the smaller parks, like Washington Park and Washington Square and stuff, you couldn't even get in that park because it was run by homeless people.
Well, it's Venice Beach now.
Well, now, but what I'm saying
Los Angeles is.
But what I'm saying is, and then it took, this drives free, and I've had Democrats admit this, but it drives liberals crazy because I said it took two conservative Republicans, Rudy Giuliani and then Bloomberg, to come in there and clean up New York City. And it was really Rudy Giuliani. He ran on that. That was his whole thing, is I'm going to clean up New York City. And I remember seeing that campaign going, buddy, you ain't cleaning up shit. Have you seen New York City? Like even the subway was it was just graffiti everywhere. It was like my friends in New York City, the first time I went there, I was living in Dallas, and they said the first thing they told me is, do not walk around looking up. If you walk around looking up at the buildings, they're going to know you're a tourist and somebody's going to mug you. They call it mugging back in those days instead of robbing.
Get
They're going
mugged.
to mug you. Yeah,
That's still a thing.
Yeah, don't be walking around looking up at the buildings, because there's an element of people in New York City that they look for that. They look for people that they think are not locals to rob.
You make yourself a target.
Yeah, you make yourself a target.
Mm-hmm.
So I was all paranoid. I wanted to look at the buildings, and I'd kind of like, or I'd go stand against the building and look up at the buildings. But I just didn't walk around, like being and then it was funny because then I worked in New York City, and I would walk around after, the crime had come down and stuff, and just walk around and just see the tourists just aimlessly walking around and walking into people and walking, and like, oh my God.
Because you see that then. And that's, when you go somewhere like that, that's all you want to do.
Yeah. So I have a question for you.
Yes.
Because when you get back to LA, because I have a feeling you're going to come back. because the weather, you can't beat the weather here. Have you been down to Oliver Beach in Miami? Is it Oliver? It's the nude beach.
Holland.
Oliver, I think it's Oliver. It's the nude beach down there. It's right off A1A.
Haven't been there yet. Put that on my list.
Put that on your list. So when you get back to LA, you got to take me out to dinner somewhere. Will you take me out to dinner to?
What area do you want to go out in? I'll
Uh,
probably move back. So I lived in Venice. Well, Mar Vista, which is West LA. It's Venice.
yeah. Well, I'm down. I got the hell out of LA, man. I was like down. I was 2.5 miles from down. You like Venice? Venice is a disaster right now. Now? When's the last time you've been to Venice?
A month ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. All my friends live in. Most of my friends. I have like even when I was living in San Diego, I was only leaving it for work.
You know, one of the big buildings right there on the boardwalk burned down, right? Because the homeless encampment caught on fire and it burnt the whole building down.
Oh,
Huge buildings. It was on the corner. It's gone.
So sad.
It's literally gone. There's nothing there. It's just a big open space because there was a homeless tent encampment there, and the encampment caught on fire, and it caught the whole building on fire, and the whole building burned down.
Insurance money after COVID. That guy's probably like, sweet, I'm not going to rebuild. And plus, and a government stipend for the homeless people that were living there. So he just hit the jackpot.
I pushed down to Fullerton, so I'm in Fullerton. So
that's so far. I mean, I was in San Diego. I have friends that are in Lakeview, South Bay.
Yeah, South Bay.
All over Tarzana.
Yeah, Tarzana.
I never go to the Valley unless I'm going to go to Six Flags, and that's a shot in the dark. But
right.
We'll see.
That's way up north.
It's so far. And what people don't understand, for those of you listening, like 4 miles in Southern California is like a 4-hour drive. Yeah, depending upon traffic. It's not like, oh, it's just 4 miles. No, you have to take into consideration the traffic there is terrible. So in most other normal cities, 4 miles is, maybe 10, 15 minutes, which it should be. That's what it was during COVID, but with everyone back and everyone out. Yeah. From Minneapolis. Minneapolis in the 80s wasn't the best.
Travis says, all through the 80s, I was in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Somebody said it was called, oh, here it is, Trav. He said it was called Minneapolis.
Murderapolis. It's just called well, now it's really called Murderapolis.
Are you from Minneapolis?
I am. I'm from Minneapolis. I went to school in downtown. If anyone knows De La Salle High School, I went there.
Oh, wow. The Twin Cities.
Twin Cities.
The most I remember about I've worked in Minneapolis and St. Paul a bunch, but the most thing I remember most about it is just going to Deja Vu in downtown.
DJ Hoyes is right there too. It has the most Fortune 500 companies per capita in the United States because
Minneapolis does?
Because Sears built right on the Mississippi River.
Well, the thing that always irritated me about, I could never believe the caliber of the girls that would be dancing in Deja Vu there in Minneapolis. You know what I'm talking about? The one in downtown Minneapolis?
Downtown, I know right where that is. I get off the exit from 94 and I pass it every day to go to school. And it was
one of the most, because I've been in strip clubs all over the United States, all over the world. You know what I mean? And that stage, because they had a stage upstairs, and it was glass, and then the girls would slide down the pole. And then the girls were amazing. But you know what I hated about it?
What?
There's no drinking, no alcohol.
Oh yeah, and you can't buy alcohol on Sundays. Can't buy alcohol after 10.
There was no alcohol being served. There was
I didn't know that
in there at all. No, you could, and like a bottle of water was like $4 or $5 a bottle, and all you could get was water. It was crazy.
I was going drunk when I went there, so
that's the way to do it. Or, get hammered and go there. But it was just like crazy because I would go every now and then, but I was like, it was so weird because it was so weird to be in a strip club, and I felt so bad for the dancers because that's how they make money, as drunk ass dudes. Don't realize how much money they spend going back to the ATM because they already spent $300 or $400 and going to pull more money out of the ATM because they're drunk as shit and they'll regret it in the morning, but they don't remember it right now. And the girls, but when you got a bunch of sober dudes sitting around drinking water, nobody's tipping shit. You know what I mean? I used to feel so bad for the girls, and they were beautiful because I lived in Dallas at the time, and Dallas used to have the best, other than Vegas. Dallas had the best strip clubs in the country. There were actually a couple. There was 1 or 2 good strip clubs in Memphis, believe it or not.
I love Sapphire. That's my favorite strip club. And every time I would go to Vegas for work, I would go to Sapphire till like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Got carried out of there one time, got kicked out because someone left a bottle of vodka. They're like, here, do you want this? I think it was like some bachelor party. We were all too drunk. And I was like, sure. And I was just pouring vodka.
Oh my God.
This guy's like, do you work here? And I was like, no. And he's like, all right, you're out of here.
You're like, do you see how tall I am?
Yeah.
You're kicking me out. I'm like, I'm a 5 foot.
Yeah.
What are you, 5 foot? 5'1"?
Yeah.
5'8". My ex-wife is 4'11", but she says she tries to play it off. She's 5 feet. I'm like, no, bitch, you're 4'11". all you short, almost all of you short girls add an inch. So like when a girl tells me they're 5'1", I'm like, yeah, you're 5 foot. Or if they
I round down.
Like, do what?
I round down. I'm like 5 3/4. I just go to 5 feet.
But you celebrate your
I love it. I like being small.
Most girls like they want to be taller or they're embarrassed to be
more legroom on airplanes.
That's true.
Everyone's taller. Well, most guys I date are taller than me.
But like getting shit off the top shelves at the grocery stores are real pain in the ass, or at the Walmart or anything.
Getting things out of my cupboard, no doubt.
Yeah. Oh, you had a dog. I was gonna get you to this spot. Oh yeah.
Stay with me. I haven't had attention in 5 minutes.
Did you take? Oh, you took your dog out there driving.
Yeah. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
She can.
You have your car out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, everything I have is out here now.
Oh, did you? How did you rent a U-Haul?
I know. I paid someone to move my stuff, and then I just put it. I didn't sign a lease. I was gonna wait to see what my territory was. Depending
so you're Airbnb-ing?
No, I'm living with family. I have family down here.
I was gonna say because goddamn, that gets expensive quick.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I'm saving as much as I can, right? Which is really nice. Like,
yeah, for sure.
I have a beautiful home on a beach to myself. So
there you go, man.
I shouldn't say that out loud. I don't want people coming. Not alone, actually.
What's the address again?
Yeah. It's my geolocation on. Wait.
Yeah. I'm on my way. So where are you at? Are you like at West Palm? Are you like at Miami Beach or
I'm
Hollywood?
North Miami Beach.
North Miami Beach.
Oh, North Miami Beach.
Such a nice area. So you can actually walk. You can walk down to Miami Beach, South Beach, then.
Yeah, no, that's like a 30-minute drive for me.
Was it Uber ride? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, Uber ride, whatever it is.
Still a nice area though. So you are up towards Hollywood then?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like halfway between Brickell and Hollywood.
Gotcha. So how far are you from A1A?
I don't know what's A1A. I don't know what that is.
A1A Beachfront Avenue or whatever it is. Don't you remember the Vanilla Ice song?
A1A Beachfront. I don't know what that is. I actually don't. I'm like, I've traveled so much. I haven't.
A1A is like it's the main road that you can literally take like down in.
That's like 5 minutes for me. The road that goes all the way down the peninsula. Yeah, I just hop out and it's super close.
I've taken A1A all the way from my God, Daytona, all the way from Daytona all the way up to South Beach.
Yeah, I just go out of that's like the main road.
Random Nomad says swatted. Give us your address. We'll send the police. Yeah, but anyway,
Couldn't be that lucky.
We were supposed to go out, and when you were in San Diego, and
we still will. I had COVID. I had COVID. I had really bad. The whole month of February, I was hospitalized for like a solid 2 days. I was so sick with COVID.
That's right.
So I spent all of February.
We were talking when you had COVID, but you were doing okay. I never realized that you actually went into the hospital.
Oh my God, no! It felt like my lungs. I'm not a smoker. I think I smoked weed maybe in college a few times. It just wasn't my thing. It wasn't something I ever wanted to pay for. Didn't grow up around family that smoked. Just wasn't what I did. So it felt like my lungs were ripping from the inside out. I can't explain it. It felt like knives were just cutting me. And I got to a point one night where I could not, I couldn't breathe. Couldn't breathe.
You're speaking to the choir because I had COVID too. And when I had it, it was before I got it like in April. So right at the very beginning. And it was crazy because I hadn't been around anybody, and I started wearing a mask before everybody else was wearing a mask because nobody knew what was going on.
No one knew what was going on.
And I was actually wearing like the N91 or whatever, like a real respirator mask. I wasn't wearing like a little like we wear
The
now.
little piece
I
of
was,
paper.
yeah, because I was the creative director for a garment facility. So we manufactured garments. So we already had the mask, you know what I mean, for the warehouse and stuff if we wanted to wear one. So I was watching the shit that was going on in China. So I started wearing the mask before any people were walking like, what are you walking around a mask for? So I was all about the mask. And I got COVID within like the first month of everything going on. And dude, so when I called the hospital, you know what they told me?
Stay home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can, they go, there's nothing really we can do for you except keep you comfortable.
Which is kind of bullshit.
But if you get where you can't breathe, go ahead and come in. And then I watched Joe Rogan podcast, and Michael Yo or whatever had COVID and said that 80% of the people that they hook up to a ventilator die. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I ain't getting hooked up to no damn ventilator. I'll just freaking,
they gave me some, it was an antiviral. And
we got Michael Roy in the room. He says we got to talk about Britney.
Where have you been the last hour?
We've been the last hour and a half, buddy. You've talked about Britney for like an hour. We're ready to wrap it up here. Yeah. But thanks for dropping in, Michael. You're a new face.
They gave me some antiviral and they're like, we're going to watch your oxygen levels. My oxygen was okay, even though I felt like I was going to die. And my fever was through the roof. And they gave me something for my fever. And I asked for a steroid and they're like, we can't do that. It's going to make it worse. And actually, the steroid counteracts coronavirus.
Because of inflammation.
Yep. Yeah. So they're like, you give this and then come back and, if it 24 hours, you don't feel better, then come back. So I think I was there probably for close to 2 days, a day or so. I went there.
You have good insurance through your family?
Yeah, I know I have good. I had insurance through work for my company, so I still have it. And so luckily I still have that. But man, I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. I also don't think that was a variant of another illness. Not to get into a political debate, but just the way it took over and I had the ear ringing, and that was my first symptom. Was my to this day, my ears still ring. Like people were like, you talk so loud. I'm like, because I can't hear anything.
Yeah. Mine was I just lost my taste and smell, and I've still only got maybe 35, 40% of it back. Like I've never been a foodie. I've never been like a big foodie. I like a nice steak, you know what I mean? Or I like sushi. I like food, but I'm not like like a lot of women they like food more than they like sex almost, or they do, you know what I mean? I'm not one of those people. But I do like a nice meal, but now that I have no, my smell and my taste is not that great. Like I could, it's another reason I forget to eat. You know what I mean? I already had problems to eat before, and now I'm just not hungry. Yeah.
I lost my smell, but I got it back. That was it. Never lost my taste, but my ears to this day, and my chest still. I mean, I'll run on. I can't run or walk on the treadmill, because my lungs burn. The only way I can explain it is if you've ever lived in a cold climate. Because I lived in Minneapolis.
Oh yeah.
You go from really hot to cold, and you take a deep breath outside, and your lungs kind of contract. It's the only way I can explain it. That's how it was like this burn in my lungs, and I wouldn't wish that upon anybody.
Which is kind of crazy, because we both lean pretty conservative these days, because we've lived in
California. Yeah, I thought I was centralized until I lived in California. Yeah. I was like, now.
I leaned to left when I moved to California. I was a left-leaning guy. I wasn't a liberal, but I was way more liberal than I was conservative. But now I'm just like,
the issue is they force you in a box. It's either one or the other. There's no I can't like a little of this and like that. It's, well, if you like this, well, you're this way, or it goes for both sides.
But my problem is you see the way that they govern in Los Angeles, and it's just, that's why there's so many major problems in the city. It's because of the governing of the city. It's so corrupt, and there's so much bullshit, and there's so much, people like, I was talking to somebody, and I was going to wrap this up because we're an hour and 40 in, but I was even talking to somebody, and they were like, why are there so many homeless people in California? Like, Well, hold on. A lot of people think they're moving here or they've moved. They haven't.
No.
But here's one way people go homeless in California that people don't even think about. People in other cities like Dallas or Houston or Wichita, Kansas, or even Minneapolis, it's not as strict. But like the parking restrictions in Southern California, and even like people don't realize, like even if you park in front of your own goddamn house once a week, in a lot of California, Southern California, even up to San Francisco, I believe this is a rule. You have to move your fucking car for street sweeping.
Yeah.
And if you don't move it, you get a ticket. You get a parking ticket. It's an $85 parking ticket. So can you imagine parking your car right in front of your freaking house? And if you don't move your car between the hours of 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. on a Tuesday, every Tuesday, you'll get a ticket. You'll get a street sweeping ticket. Okay. After you get 3 street sweeping tickets that you don't pay, because people get pissed off and go, I ain't paying that shit. And a lot of people are moving here from other states. So they are moving here from other states like Texas, where nobody gives a shit about paying the parking tickets. Nobody, I never even got a parking ticket in Texas. I lived there for 30 years. I never had a parking ticket until I moved to California. So when I first got a parking ticket, I didn't think too much about it. You don't realize the in-depths that California will go to make sure you pay that parking ticket. And if you don't, and then you don't realize, what you don't realize is if you don't pay the parking ticket, you have 20 days to pay it. If you don't pay it in the first 20 days, it doubles. And if you don't pay it in the next 15 days or something like that, it just keeps going up and up and up. So what happens is people will get 3 parking tickets, not pay them, and then within 4 months, they owe $700 to the city. And then they go try to register their car, and it's $700 or $800 plus the registration fees, which are crazy as well.
$400.
So $400. So
like
now
2001 sedan.
Yeah. So now you owe $1,200 just to get
more than the actual car costs.
Yeah. So now you owe $1,200 to get your car registered. So you can't afford to register it. So now you're driving around with a car that has no tags. Well, what happens is they have these guys, these parking enforcements that run around with this little machine on their car, and it scans your license plate. So they scan your plate. They see you got 3 outstanding tickets. 3 outstanding tickets, they automatically tow your car. Parking tickets. So 3 outstanding tickets.
Or they put a boot on it.
And if it's not registered, it immediately gets towed. So then it gets towed. So then you don't realize, okay, well, now it's towed. Well, all of those same payments that you needed to pay the DMV to get your car legal, now you got to pay that to get it out of tow. My RV got towed here. So it got towed 2 times, and it cost me almost $3,000 to get it out of tow. First time was $2,200.
Yep.
And the second time was $600 to get it out of the tow yard. And it got towed within like a month of each time before I could finally get it sold. But so that's what happens. So what happens is people, I have so many friends that are just regular work bartenders or servers or whatever. They've lost their cars. They've lost cars. They've lost cars they were paying for. They were making payments on, and it gets taken by the city, and then the city does an auction and auctions it off. It's a racket. They make millions of dollars every year off of.
Where is that money going?
They impound and keep
millions of people. Where is that money going?
And they impound.
How are they still in debt? How is California so?
They impound these cars, and they make millions of dollars by selling those cars at auction. But my point is you have a job. Well, now you don't have a car. How do you get to work? Try to take the bus or whatever. The bus system sucks. So then you don't start. So then you lose your job. So now you've lost your job, and shit rolls downhill. And the next thing you know, you're living in a tent in Venice Beach. You know what I mean? A lot of that happens to a lot of people. Or you lose your car, you start doing drugs because you're depressed, or start drinking, and so. California, and I really realized this. I had a light bulb moment like 3.5 years ago when I went to Austin. Have you been to Austin lately?
Mm-hmm.
It's basically
Austin weird. It's little LA.
It's in little LA.
It's little LA.
Like the same parking enforcement, the same 10-cent bags at Walmart. It's all the same bullshit that these people in LA. And what makes me want to punch all of them in the throat with the throat punch of death is they leave Los Angeles because they can't afford the shit here.
Yeah, and they hate how it's governed. They don't like how it's run.
And then they go over there and implement the same bullshit they just left behind.
And they wonder, they're like, "Well, it wasn't working here, so you're gonna go ruin that area when you've already ruined this place."
It drives me crazy. Like for myself, when I moved to California, I voted pretty liberal. You know what I mean? Because I was liberal until I saw like the way they do shit. I'm like, and it takes years of being here to before the veil is finally pulled back until you actually realize, oh, this is because of Democratic freaking policy that the schools suck. Like, here's the best one. This is my favorite one. Like, the roads are so bad in Los Angeles that they're dangerous.
Right.
And in some places, they're dangerous.
Terrible.
We pay more taxes for road work, for infrastructure, which is basically the roads. We're for gasoline, everything. We pay more taxes for fuel tax, everything, than anybody else in the United States. Any other state, we pay the most.
$5 a gallon.
We pay the most. Do you know where California's roads rank in the United States?
They're probably 40th.
47th. There's 50 states. 47th. I've been to every state in the United States. You know what the only state I've ever been to that the roads were worse than California?
Who?
Michigan.
I believe it. The winters
Michigan
are so harsh.
The
winters are so harsh, and they don't have.
It's not the winters. Do
corruption.
You know what?
It's the corruption to fix it.
It's not the winters. I thought it was the winter too. Winter. I thought it was the winter.
Yeah,
is what. I thought it was the winter too. You know, because it's so cold and stuff. It's not. Because if you go to Minnesota, the roads are great.
Because they do them the minute. There's 2 seasons, winter and construction season, because they're fixing the road for the winter. It's going to get screwed up again.
But Minnesota, the roads are nicer. I mean, Wisconsin's not that bad either. Minnesota's got the nicest roads out of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. But if you go to Michigan, the reason their roads are so bad is I finally figured this out because they don't have the same regulations for big rigs. If you're a local big rig, they can carry like 150,000 pounds. Where a regular big rig can only carry like 50,000 pounds if they're coming from out of state. But if you've been to Michigan a lot,
no, a few times.
If you go to, next time you go to Michigan, look around because like the dirt trucks that haul dirt, they'll have like 3 trailers, and like some of their trucks will have like most trucks have like 2 tires in the back of the trailer.
Yeah,
we'll have trucks that have like a whole line of tires. They'll have like 6
they'll let them blow out. They'll let them because they don't have to get it fixed again.
No, it's because they're hauling so much weight.
Oh,
and then they're putting that weight on the streets, and the streets are buckling under all of that weight. Like there's roads in Michigan that you'll be in a groove. You're in a groove because it's all of those big trucks, and it's only local trucks that can do that. They can have that have the extra weight limit. Like if you're from out of state, you got to be like a federal law. You can't be overloaded. But for some reason, the state of Michigan lets their local trucks has like it's like 3 times the weight limit of what the regular federal is. It's crazy, but it just completely trashes their roads because they have these trucks hauling all of this weight that are just buckling the roads under all of the weight of these trucks.
And California just has bullshit. That the reason they can't fix it. So at least they have a legitimate reason in Michigan. There's no reason for that in California.
I've actually figured out California. You know, it's not all the fault of California because I remember when I first moved here, like there was when I very first pulled into town, I went into this underpass. I was like, what in the fuck? Like there was all of this wood. It looked like they were building like a damn train trestle. You know what I mean? For like a train to go over, like a train bridge. And I couldn't figure out like why there was all of this wood. Because I mean, I've watched them build overpasses in Dallas, you know what I mean? And they'll put them damn things up overnight.
Right.
You know what I mean? You'll go through there and there won't be an overpass. And then you go down and there's this big mix mixture, you know, within like 2 or 3 days. And then it was taken here in California. It was taking them forever. And then finally I realized like, oh yeah, everything they do here has to be earthquake proof.
Yeah.
So they're using all of this engineering and all of these different materials. So if there's an earthquake, the shit doesn't just collapse into itself. You know what I mean? That it'll move. Because I was like, why are they using wood in a concrete overpass? That doesn't even make sense. These huge girders. I mean, these ginormous girders, like the trees got to be like redwoods or something because they were giant, like 4.5 foot wide, you know, and they were all just like toothpicks up under this. And then when they covered it all up, you didn't see any of that wood. It looked like the whole thing was concrete.
Did you wake up from that big earthquake that happened recently? What was it, like a month ago, maybe now?
Well, here in
4 in the morning. 4 in the morning.
Here in Fullerton, so check this out. It was only like a 3.4 or something like that, or 3.6, right? But it happened in Placenta, which is literally like a mile from where I'm sitting. And I was in my chair right here, working on my computer, doing something, and it literally felt like somebody picked the building up and dropped it. It felt like somebody picked the building up like off the ground, like that high, and just dropped it, because my whole chair went boom. And I was like, what the was that? I thought like a big truck or something ran into the building. It was my first initial thought, like from the road, like somebody lost control and ran into the building, because the whole building. And then I was like, wait a minute, this building is, even if a train ran into the building, the whole building ain't going to move. I said, that was an earthquake.
Is your building on rollers or springs?
I don't think so, but it might be. It might be. I don't know. It's an office complex. So there's like 4 big buildings that are like 2 stories. So it might be on rollers. It might move around.
Yeah.
But for the last we may have a big earthquake, because like for the last couple of months, we've been having here in Fullerton, like very like earthquakes, like little earthquakes all the time. And because I'm a night owl, I'm up at night a lot. So I feel them during the night when everybody else is sleeping.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, they're little, sometimes they're just little tiny.
The tremors, right.
Just a little, it's like this, just a little, I mean, nothing even really moves, but you can just feel your body just a little bit. And I'm like, oh, we're having a little tremor there. Yeah. So, and then we had 2 like that one, but there was
the one big one that
I immediately looked it up on the earthquake thing, and it was only like a 3.7, which is not very big, but it was because I was right here at the epicenter. Right. It was Placenta. Yeah. I was sitting right on top of it. So I don't know. I mean, that's another thing I've waited for the entire time I've been out here, is a big one. It's just a matter of time.
It's just funny because the people here, I'm like, oh, I'm from California. Like, oh, you have earthquakes. And I'm like, you don't really. I mean, you get one every now and then. And it's like, okay, I slept through it. But here, I'm like, you guys have hurricanes every year. Like, what are you going to tell me about?
And those hurricanes wipe shit out, dude. The last time California's had a major, oh my God, I'm gonna jinx myself. I got to knock on wood. Wood. I think this desk is particle wood. This is real wood, hopefully. The last time California had a major earthquake is like 1993.
I think it was the one up in the valley.
Yeah, it was.
What
was the name of that?
In Tarzana. It was huge.
Yeah. And that was where the apartment complex collapsed. And then before that, it was Oakland. Oakland had a huge. They had a huge one up there.
The buildings fell.
That happened during the World Series or something like that. What was the earthquake here? It's like it's in the valley, but it's a famous.
I have to Google. I think you're right though.
I'm Googling too. I can actually always remember it until I start trying to talk about it. There's in Inglewood, there was one in June 23rd, 3.2. 1994.
The Northridge one.
Yeah, Northridge.
Yeah. It's
funny because every time I'm up in the valley and I drive through Northridge, up by Van Nuys and up in that area, I'm like, oh my God, I'm in Northridge. This is where the big one happened.
There was 3.9 today in Ashland.
I just saw that.
Yeah.
Inglewood?
Ashland up in San Francisco, there's a 3.9 earthquake.
Well, I just put earthquake and it showed one right here. And I thought it said Inglewood.
There's one. Yeah, there's another one that says Inglewood too. Recently, today.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, today.
There was one in Eureka, which is out in the water.
I didn't even feel those.
Riverside had one.
I've just had a feeling, man, like it's going to be, we're going to have one. California's due.
Hope you don't fall in the ocean.
It's funny because I put this screen, like I finally got my whole setup like I want it. So I have a monitor over here that's like vertical, like this. Mm-hmm. But I was using like a big 34-inch curved monitor was my main monitor. But then for professional gamers use like a 27-inch, a smaller straight monitor. So I have that in front of me now, and I put my big 34-inch up here. So it's way up in the air. And I was thinking, dude, after I got it all up here, I was like, oh, it's perfect. This is great. And then right after that, we had that shocker earthquake, and the whole thing just moved. And I thought to myself, dude, if we have a major earthquake, this stuff's just going to get destroyed because it's too heavy. It'll just fall over and everything will break. So it kind of freaks me out a little bit. Because I mean,
don't put that out in the world. You better knock on wood again.
I know, or bolt this desk to the floor where you can't flip over. I don't know, but you know, like in Texas, I lived in Texas didn't you live in Texas too at one time? You just been to Texas?
I lived in Atlanta, Chicago, Minnesota, which is where I was born and raised.
Atlanta. How long?
I love Atlanta.
Do you?
Love Atlanta.
I had a friend that
moved back in a heartbeat.
I had a friend that lived in Peachtree City, Georgia. Which Peachtree Cities? It's the rich. It's like the Beverly Hills, old school money.
Yeah, you know, probably old money.
Yeah, He worked for Hoshizaki Ice Machines, which is crazy because that's a Japanese ice machine company, and they're based in Peachtree City, Georgia.
I worked for Turner Sports, and I lived in North Druid Hills.
You do a lot of sports stuff.
Yeah, I love sports. I was a D1 athlete.
Doing what?
Go team. I was a
cheer. You were cheer. Okay, you were
the gymnast.
You're the one that got thrown up in the air. You were you weren't?
I actually didn't end up cheering on the sideline because I refused to get thrown up in the air.
Oh, because you don't like heights?
Because I don't want to hurt my head. I've seen too many head injuries. Dropped in your head. Yeah. I was also a girl in high school, and if you didn't hold your weight, I'd probably drop you because I'm not going to be doing all the work.
Right.
Oh, I was like, karma will get me, and it did. So I went to Big Ten school, and
Where'd you go to college at?
Went to Iowa.
Oh, did you? Wow. Hawkeyes.
Go Hawks. Yeah.
Hook 'em horn.
I've lived all over California.
Yeah.
Now Florida.
How long did you live in California?
7 years. 8 years.
That's quite a bit. And where'd you?
3.5 in LA, 4 in San Diego.
When you moved to California, where'd you move from? Where were you living?
From Chicago. I was living in Chicago.
Girl, you've lived. You're only 29.
I know. I'm ADD. I'm like, I want to go everywhere and do everything.
You're more nomadic than I am.
I've lived in Brazil twice too.
What?
I studied abroad there, and I loved it so much that I went back.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. Loved it. I'd go back again. Good food, beautiful people. The people there are just stunning. Beyond.
Were you in Sao Paulo or were you in
Sao Paulo? I was in Rio for a while, and then a place called Sao Bento, and then my favorite place is Paraty. It's spelled like
Copacabana.
Oh, I did go to Copacabana, Ipanema.
Yeah,
the beaches.
I had a girlfriend from Sao Paulo.
Oh, it's beautiful.
She was so beautiful.
Probably stunning. She's probably just stunning.
She didn't have the regular Brazilian features though. You know what I mean?
She didn't have a fat ass. I don't want to swear now because someone called him like.
She didn't have the overly fat ass. You know what I mean? But she was gorgeous. I met her in Miami.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I met her in Miami. That's where I met her. Crazy. Well, anyway, girl. We're running out.
My dog is like, take me out, please.
I don't think I've ever done a 2-hour podcast. Have I ever done a 2-hour podcast, guys? I don't think I've ever done a 2-hour podcast. But it was awesome having you on here. We'll have to have you back.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this. I was so nervous when I got on because I've never done a live podcast, so I didn't really know what to expect.
But you have a podcast. Let's plug because you're starting your own podcast, and it's
called Rare Millennials.
Medium Rare Millennials.
Pretty medium rare people.
So are you uploading to just to YouTube, or do you have it going through Spotify or anything yet?
Spotify, anywhere you can get podcasts. So Spotify, audio, Audible.
But you do have you do have a YouTube channel for it as well.
I haven't gotten, and I'm trying to drop the ball on that. We've recorded it, but I haven't gotten enough. That's not where our platform is. It's pretty much recording. Actually,
the reason I asked you is because I'll try to put a link to where you want to link it in the description of this.
Oh, I can send you the link to the Spotify.
Yeah, send me a link to it, and I'll link it. I'll link it down below, guys, in the description.
Yeah,
and And when you come back,
Instagram, I don't really use social media. Though I use Instagram. That's pretty much it. Tiny Blonde
oh, we
Kelly.
were
That's
supposed
what
to
I
talk
put it.
about Clubhouse, and we didn't even talk about Clubhouse, except for the fact we met there.
Well, we can save that for the next one.
Can save that for the next one. And if you come back to LA, you can actually come into the studio here, and we could actually do it in the studio.
I would love that.
Because that's how I set this thing up at the beginning, because I thought I was going to have people to come in, but it's impossible with the pandemic and everything. It's been impossible to get people to come in. So I finally started paying for the software so I could have people remotely like yourself.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm grateful.
I
Had a really fun time.
All right, guys. Random Nomad. Let's get back to the chat really quick. See who we got here. Travman, Random Nomad, Monster John. That's so funny. My buddy Monster John. I met him playing Call of Duty. He's on Twitch. Travman, all you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And that is going to do it for this episode of the American Nomad podcast. I want to thank my guest again, Kelly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, yeah,
no?
Olin. I don't put it. No one can pronounce it. I'm
I would
Swedish.
say Olin.
Yeah, they say Olin. It's Olin. I'm Swedish.
Olin.
So yeah.
So if it's Olin, it should be spelled Olen.
In Europe, especially in Sweden and in the Nordic countries, the I makes the E sound. So
you see, that's how Texas I am. I'm going to sit here and tell you how you should actually spell your own name.
I've had people be like, there needs to be an apostrophe. I'm like, where? They're like, oh, apostrophe. And then it should be Lean. I'm like,
all good. So it's Olin, Kelly Olin. All right. Which I know you as Tiny Blonde Kelly because it's your Instagram. You want me to put your Instagram, link your Instagram as well?
Yeah, you can do that. That's fine.
I'll link both the podcast and the Instagram in the description for you guys, so you can go check out Kelly when she's not even on the podcast, when she's doing her own thing and her Instagram stories and stuff. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. And let me hit that outro.
Thank you for listening to the American Nomad podcast. Until next time, keep looking up because that's where it all is.
Thanks, guys. We will see you guys Wednesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Until then, have a great one.
Hi, thank you.